And welcome back to Take What You Can, episode 25. I cannot believe we are already on 25 episodes. It's been such a blessing to be able to do this show. Don't forget to follow me on X, TWYCF on X, Take What You Can Football on X. Um, we got a lot to talk about today on this Wednesday edition of Take What You Can. We're going to talk about Bears, Vikings, Falcons, Raiders, maybe the Thursday night football game, or actually, yes, we will. And then maybe a little bit on the NFL MVP, Kirk Cousins getting benched, all that kind of stuff. So let's hop right in. So for those of you who don't know, I am a Vikings fan, so I was able to catch most of this game. I had to work mostly through the first half, but a lot of the rhetoric on X really gave me a context of what's going on in the Bears organization right now. And what I want to do is talk a little bit about um, just some of what's going on organizationally in like the front office of the Bears. Now, if you don't follow this account on X, they're called Sears Tower, I believe, as I'm pulling it up here. Yep, Sears Tower with a capital S on the second S. They are some sort of burner account that seems to have a lot of information on the Bears. But let's see. Let's see here. What did they say? Let's pull it up. Okay, right here. This was about 22 hours ago. This was a long post on X. This is from Sears Tower on X, secret account that seems to have a lot of connections into the Bears organization. So I quote, good afternoon, folks. Let's begin with the obvious. There is a blank show happening at Hallis Hall right now. No other way to put it. Let's talk about Ryan Poles' job security first. I'm going to stand by my reporting and once again repeat he is safe, which this is my commenting here, which is surprising to me. I think mainly because he's not the one calling the shots. I'm realizing that now where I've put a lot of the heat on Ryan Poles for this roster, but maybe he doesn't have as much control over this roster as we'd like to think. So moving forward here, I've talked with folks around the league and inside Hallis Hall, and while Poles is making it known he is upset with the current structure, he's going to remain the Bears GM. With that being said, Poles is on a leash, a very short leash, if I might add. He's going to be advocating for his job during coaching interviews. He's going to be pitching himself to the coaches as the coaches will be pitching themselves to leadership. However, and this is an extremely strong however, which I don't see happening, if the Bears' primary head coach candidate is uncomfortable working with Ryan, I expect them to fire Poles. Wow, that is crazy. I'm unsure how the optics, okay, this is alleged, obviously this is their reporting. I'm unsure how the optics of this would work is because you traditionally hire a GM first and let the GM pick their own head coach. But I've been told that they will not hesitate firing Poles if that means being able to get the number one head coach candidate on their list. Yeah, because to me, I don't think they value GM. I think that they're Kevin Warren and, oh my gosh, what's his name? Bears CFO, what's his name? Or CEO. Who am I thinking here? Oh, McCaskey, that's who I'm thinking. He's one of the owners, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so they will not let Ryan Poles prevent the Bears from getting the obvious first choice head coach should someone clearly separate themselves from the group and does not want to work with Poles. Next, sources inside the building have confirmed to me that Thomas Brown is no longer an option. They will still interview him, but he is no longer a serious candidate. Lastly, you hear a lot of things the next couple of weeks and month about hiring a coach that will shift the culture and flip the organization upside down. Make no mistake about this. This will be an offensive-minded head coach in Hallis Hall. Known leader of not. Oh, because he's talking about leader of men. I can confirm this. Even if a non-offensive minded head coach blows them away, If the gap between the non-offensive-minded head coach and offensive head coach isn't large, they will defer to the offensive-minded head coach. Caleb is the number one priority right now, and these last weeks have made that even more obvious. The leadership is not going to gamble on revolving doors at OC to develop what feels like, for the first time ever, a franchise QB at Hallis Hall. It will be an offensive head coach or bust. Yeah. Do I think this should happen? Definitely not. And this is what dysfunctional organizations do. This is always been the case. Always. But let's see here. But he also said, just opinion here, Bears fans are telling me this is a good roster. You all are so infatuated with slightly above average players that you forget what an actual talented player looks like. I can count on one hand the number of good players on defense. Sweat, Edwards, Kyler, and Jalen. That's it. That's not a bad take, right? And Eberflus had this defense playing well. He really did. And when you lose that, I mean, they kind of went down the drain after that because the offense was going to struggle either way. So, yeah, if you want to get an offensive-minded head coach in here, that's great. But it is not going to be an easy task. Caleb is very talented, but again, he has his inconsistencies, which is fine. He's a rookie quarterback. That happens. But I mean, either way, he's going to have some growing to do. And this is someone who I had him as my top prospect last year. Coming out of the draft, he was my number one prospect. I thought the ceiling was very, very high, but also these things that are showing up now were very much on the college tape too. But when you're in college, you can get away with those things a lot more. The talent isn't the same. He is obviously more physically talented than a lot of college players, and that's what's going to happen. So, but let's break down the actual game here. Let's look at some of the stats that we've got. The Vikings won 30-12. It was a close game for seemingly a little bit, but the Vikings really pulled away here. Caleb Williams was 18-31, 191, one touchdown. DeAndre Swift, 19 carries, 79 yards. Keenan Allen, 6 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Sam Darnold, 24-40, 231, one touchdown, one interception. The Bears really play the Vikings well. They always have, and they always probably will. Aaron Jones, 18 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, 7 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Let's see here. Vikings dominated in offensive yards overall. I wouldn't say dominated. Maybe like 50 yards over. I misread it. Yards per play was about the same. First downs, Vikings were ahead. The Bears were 1 of 12 on third down. You're just not going to win in that when you're doing things like that. 7 of 14 for the Vikings. Yeah, both teams had a lot of penalties. They had turnover battle was the same. Time of possession was the same. But really, when you look at a lot of these stats, a lot of it is very even. Really what this game came down to was third down efficiency and making plays in the red zone too. Because I obviously forgot the offensive lineman's name, but he didn't report as ineligible. Or eligible, whatever it is, eligible. And cost them a touchdown. It's really, really crazy. So, yeah, I think really what the Bears, we've talked a lot about the Bears. If you want to hear a lot of my takes about the Bears, I probably talk about them most podcasts. I highly recommend the Thanksgiving Day one. I broke down that whole final drive that basically got Eberflus fired. I highly recommend that one. Follow me on X. I talk a lot about the Bears. Let's talk a little bit about the Vikings. So let's pull up this team. And let's talk about them as Super Bowl contenders. Because that's really what it's coming down to. Because if the Vikings win out, which would not be easy, But if they win out, they are the 1 seed, which the Vikings have not been the 1 seed in a very long time. I think 98 or 99. When was the last time the Vikings were the number 1 seed? Let's see here. Okay, it's not giving me a clear answer, but even in 2009, I think they were the number 2 because the Saints were 1. Yeah, because they had to play in the NFC Championship game at New Orleans. 2017, they were the number 2 seed. They played in Philadelphia. The big thing is that the Vikings just have not been the 1 seed. Okay, wait. 1998 Vikings NFC Championship game. Yeah, they were the 1 seed because they were 15-1. Yeah. And the Falcons were 14-2. That's a dang. Yeah, so really what the Vikings need to do is they need to beat the Packers and the Lions. And Seahawks, Packers, Lions. There's 3 games left. Those are all potential playoff teams, even though I don't think the Seahawks are making the playoffs. But those are all potential playoff teams. And that's a hard road. I would say the Lions game. Okay, if I were to rank the difficulty of these games, call me crazy. I feel like the Packers one is going to be a harder win than the Lions one. The only reason I say that is because the Lions barely beat the Vikings the first time. Granted, the Vikings were at home then, and they're going to have to play on the road at Detroit. But this Lions team had a lot more talent on the field. They have lost a lot of people. And the NFL is a momentum game. It's a difficult league. So it's hard to beat someone twice in 1 year, let alone 3 times in 1 year if you're in the playoffs against them. So I would say this Packers game on December 29th is probably going to be the hardest thing. This is not a pretty schedule left to have to close up for the 1 seed. But let me say this. If you do run the table on these teams, you more than deserve the 1 seed. Absolutely. Because Philadelphia, what do they have? Eagles schedule. They have Washington, Dallas, and the Giants. Okay. I mean, Washington might be a difficult game, but they're really hot. Like, the Eagles are really hot right now. But in the end, those are all divisional games. The NFL has really put a lot of these divisional games towards the end. Usually it would just be like 1 game. But now I think just for the sake of keeping people like entertained and wanting to watch, I think they make them division games towards the end, which usually has a lot of playoff implications, whether or not the teams are good or not, because, I mean, it's easy to lose. I posted this on X the other night. I don't care, because everyone was talking about, oh, well, can't believe the Bears are in this game. You know, this is bad for the Vikings, you know, this and that. But let me see here. What did I say? Something along the lines of, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care about the gap in talent. If teams are in the same division, you never know what the score might be. You play each other twice a year. Anything can happen. Exactly. Do I totally agree with what I said? Yes. But that's the thing. I don't care about how good the team is. At the end of the day, like, you play this team twice a year, they know you better than anybody. Especially if you've been coaches for a long time. So like Matt LaFleur and Kevin O'Connell, maybe not a long time for Kevin O'Connell, but 3rd year, start to get a sense of who people are, you know? Dan Campbell, too. You start to get a sense of who people are. You play them twice a year, you really get to know them. So you can't really expect just anything like a regular, you know, like a regular game. But I'm going to look at the NFL playoff bracket here because the Vikings would have to win out to get the 1 seed, which would be hard, but if they do, they more than deserve it. I hope they do, but I still hope the Eagles win out too. So everyone's just picking the Eagles like they always do. I hope the Vikings get underrated all the way to the Super Bowl. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. So the Vikings and the Eagles have the same record. So if the Vikings lose at all and the Eagles win, it's not happening. And basically the Eagles only have a chance to really lose against the Redskins, right? So it's definitely a hard road for the Vikings, but like I said, if they win out, they definitely deserved it for sure. And the Vikings need the 1 seed, man. Like, their team is very talented, and we'll break them down in a second here. Their team's very talented, but if they're not, like, you don't look at this roster and go, wow, this is the most talented roster I've ever seen. Like, well-rounded roster I've ever seen. A lot like you'd look at the Eagles roster. So you really just need that 1 seed. That's really going to be your kicker, especially in this NFC. You know, you get the first round bye. You get whoever you play who's either, I mean, you might end up having to play the Packers, right? Because if the Packers stay the 6th seed, say the Vikings win out, right? Oh my gosh. Oh, I would be so mad. Okay, so the path to the Vikings Super Bowl is extremely difficult because, okay, so they're the 1st seed, right? Say they win out. That means they beat the Lions and made them the 5th seed. That means that they've beaten the Packers twice already. So really what that says is, okay, so you're the 1st seed, you get the first round bye. At how things stand right now, the Eagles are playing the Redskins. Then the Bucks are playing the Packers. And the Rams are playing the Lions, right? But, okay, Bucks-Packers might be a solid game, but I think I'm picking the Packers. So, and I'm probably picking the Eagles to beat the Redskins. So that means in your first game of the playoffs, you're playing the Packers at home to try to beat them for the 3rd time of the year. The 3rd time. That is a difficult thing to do against a Packers team that is not bad at all. So then, okay, say things shake out that way. Say you beat the Packers for a 3rd time in a row. Now you got to probably play the Eagles or the Lions in the NFC Championship game. Okay. So, okay. And then, oh my gosh. Then you got, oh my gosh. Okay, then you got to beat one of them, which is going to be extremely difficult. Then you play the best AFC team in New Orleans, which is a place that you hate as a Vikings fan. If you were alive or conscious in 2009, you know what I'm talking about. Then you're more than likely maybe playing honestly, the AFC is so wide open. It's probably either going to be the Chiefs, Bills, or Ravens. Probably. Maybe Steelers. So then you got to play them in New Orleans. So you either got to beat... we'll start with the Steelers. An elite Steelers defense against a coach that used to be on your team that you let walk. Granted, that was a really long time ago. Or you play Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen in the never won a Super Bowl. Or Lamar freaking Jackson in his first Super Bowl. Oh my gosh. Okay. with all that being said, my mind's telling me no. My mind's saying there's no way this is going to happen. There's no way the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl. But if they do, this would have to be one of the best Super Bowl runs of all time. Of all time. Because so this is more than likely, this is the most likely, if the Vikings win the Super Bowl, this would have to be the likely scenario. So they'd have to win out against three playoff teams to end the season. In the divisional round, they'd probably have to play the Packers, who have been their big brother for a long time. And they would have to beat them for a third time in one season. Then they'd either have to play the Lions or the Eagles, who are stacked. Maybe the Lions are a little less because they're hurt, but you probably will have to play the Eagles, who are probably one of the most stacked teams or probably the most stacked team in the league. Then you play in New Orleans, where you have like PTSD from 2009, and you either have to play the best quarterback in the league or basically one of the three best quarterbacks in the league. One of them's already won 3 Super Bowls. The other 2 have never been to one. Yikes. Holy cow. That's nuts. I got to text my family this. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay, I had to text my family. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That would be one of the best Super Bowl runs of all time. I don't know, maybe I'm biased being a Vikings fan, but holy cow. All right, well, in other Vikings news, let's talk about the Falcons-Raiders game, a.k.a. Kirk Cousins got benched. Falcons versus Raiders. The Falcons won 17-9. Or wait, I'm sorry, what was it? Let's see here. Maybe I misread that. They won. Why can't I get this here? Give me 1 second. Well, I know Falcons won. Falcons versus Raiders. Score. Come on now. Oh, it's because I'm on news. They won 15-9. Okay. So Kirk Cousins was 11 for 17, 112 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Holy cow. Kirk. Yikes. I think he's still hurt. He came off that Achilles injury so fast. So fast. My dad goes, so what, you're trying to jinx everything? What is there to jinx? What is there to jinx? It's the facts. It's honestly just the facts. Spoken like a true Vikings fan. What are you trying to jinx everything? Okay, so Kirk Cousins is a 36-year-old quarterback coming off a torn Achilles, who they paid 4 years, $180 million. 100 of it is guaranteed. Okay, maybe they keep him around next year and just cut him after that as a backup. Probably my least favorite thing about this last draft was the Falcons, because I wanted Michael Penix for the Vikings. I like J.J. McCarthy, but I loved Michael Penix. I actually had him above Jaden Daniels, which right now does not look like a good pick, but you never know. We will see. Only time will tell. People's careers can go so left. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield. You know what I mean? First overall pick, and then everybody's like, oh, he's terrible. And he gets cut. He goes to Carolina, and now he's with the Bucs, and they're like, oh, maybe the Browns were wrong. you literally have to go through like 80% of someone's career to really get a sense of where it's at. Okay, so Caleb Williams, obvious pick. Jaden Daniels, not as obvious to me. I didn't think the Redskins were even in a position to take a quarterback, honestly, because their offensive line and their weapons offensively were just really struggling. So I thought maybe they'll wait another year. But they must have really liked Jaden. I didn't hate the pick. Thought it was a little bit of a reach at the time, but obviously it's working out well. Drake May, I think a lot of people like him, but I did not like him. I think that was a terrible pick. Marvin Harrison, that was a shoe-in. Joe Alt, great pick. Malik Neighbors, thought it was a little bit of a reach. J.C. Latham, solid pick, maybe a little bit of a reach, but solid. And then I'm like, all right, who's Atlanta going to take? I'm like, the Vikings are only 2 picks away. We just got to make sure the Bears don't trade back with somebody, anything like that. There's no way Atlanta's taking a quarterback. And then they go and take Michael Penix. So they go and take, in my brain, 2 of Vikings quarterbacks. And obviously the 98 championship game. There's a lot of hatred there for Atlanta. And, Kirk, I just cannot believe he's getting benched. But also at the same time, Michael Penix is an extremely gifted passer. And the reason he came out so late, like in his college career, I think he was 24 years old. And because of that was because of injuries. He used to be more of a running quarterback, but he kept getting injured, tried to focus more on passing. Turns out he's a lights out passer. Really hardworking dude. You got to love the guy, honestly. But let's see here. I ran a poll actually in the middle of the game. Let's see here. I just said, hey, Falcons fans, do you think you would have had a better record this season with Michael Penix Jr. starting? 37 votes, 94%, almost 95% said yes, which to me seems a little harsh. Like, I like to just put out polls just to get a sense of, what's going on. Of like how people feel, how their fans feel about players, because I have my ideas, but at the end of the day, like a lot of times fan bases are just going to listen to their fans and what they have to say to the best of their ability. So it's definitely interesting, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the actual game, it seemed like the Falcons just scored pretty slowly but consistently. Bijan played well. Obviously, they have to rely a lot on Bijan. But, okay, I understand the Falcons' approach. I honestly, I don't even know if I have much to say about this game. Desmond Ridder didn't play great. Yeah, this team is just so depleted. I believe in Antonio Pierce. I just think that he has he's got no talent on this roster. Or really just any. That's what the Patriots do. They just, the Patriots guys are like people who come from New England. They just deplete rosters. And they think it's like college. Maybe that's why Bill Belichick will work out. Because maybe it's like college. They try to make it like college. Like, hey, our system's going to work. We don't need any players. Just do your job. You're signed specifically for this role, and you're not much else. And they just deplete rosters of talent, and they try to save money. And it's only worked one place. And a lot of it has to do with Tom Brady. A lot of it has to do with Bill Belichick. But you keep just killing you're taking the soul out of rosters, man. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So, I don't know. Either way, I understand Atlanta's thought process with Kirk Cousins. I definitely don't agree with the money that they signed him for, but their thought process was, we have a solid roster, and the only thing that's been unstable is the quarterback position. So their thought process was, let's go get us above average quarterback. Even if we have to pay him, we have the cap space, and then let's draft a guy and he can sit. That's not a bad thought process. I know a lot of people trashed him for it, but I don't think that's a bad process. But the only thing that's bad is the money that you paid Kirk. Granted, you could probably cut him after next year, but now look, you're already 14 games into this, and you're already starting Michael Penix. So what? Kirk Cousins is just going to sit on the bench? I mean, I guess he's a trade asset. Does Kirk Cousins have a no trade clause? Has a full no trade clause that gives him plenty of autonomy to determine. Okay, yeah. So, he does have a no trade clause. However, that doesn't mean that he won't get traded. He just won't get traded to a team that he doesn't want to go to. But now you have the rights to Kirk Cousins, and you're going to get something for him. You might not get like a first rounder or two for. I mean, maybe he's older, but you're at least getting like a third round pick. Let's think about teams that could take Kirk Cousins next year. Obviously, you never know like what might go on. But also, I mean, it's rough, man. His wife is from that area, and I know a big reason that he went there, at least he said, I believe he went there, was because his wife's family's from there, and he wanted to like bring his wife back home. So I don't know, maybe he'll stay. Maybe he'll play out that second year as a backup, and maybe he'll just retire. But yeah, really, how much money do you need, dude? Really, that's the big question. How much money do you really need? Now my dad's texting me about curses. He's saying I'm cursing the Vikings. Like, curse of the Billy Goat, curse of the Bambino, curse of the White Sox, the Netflix curse. I don't know what he means by the Netflix curse, but yeah, that's my dad for you. Yeah, so I kind of feel bad for Kirk Cousins. More feel bad for the Vikings because look at where we're at. I mean, we gave that man money for so long. He did have some good seasons, but dude, like, I think a lot of it had to do with the talent around him. And we spent so many years pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into this dude. And he plays 14 games with the Falcons and gets benched. Do the Falcons look kind of dumb? Kind of. But also, yeah, it's not a good situation at all. But the Vikings look smart. I mean, Sam Darnold's playing for like what, $10 million this season? So the only way I can see the Vikings re-signing Sam Darnold is if they win the Super Bowl. Literally. I think even if they make the Super Bowl and lose, I think they're still letting him go. If they win the Super Bowl, I'm thinking like a 2-year contract or so. Granted, yes, I don't want to take for granted the kind of season that he's having. Well, let's pull it up. Let's see what kind of season he's having. Sam Darnold stats. He's definitely hit or miss sometimes, you know? But, okay, he's got 3,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Okay. It's definitely good. For sure. 67% completion percentage, 104 rating. Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty solid since they played the Packers. Or wait, no, sorry, that's the other way around. He's been he didn't do great against the Bears. Did amazing against the Falcons. Really good against the Cardinals and Bears again. Bad against the Jags. Solid against the Titans. Yeah, like he has up and down games sometimes. He's only 27. I definitely could see them, if they win the Super Bowl, they're definitely going to try to re-sign him. But I don't think it's going to be some like 5-year contract. Because at the end of the day, you're going to want J.J. McCarthy to take over eventually. And yes, is Sam playing amazing? Yes. But you know at the end of the day, like, he is not the reason. The main reason the Vikings would be in the Super Bowl. He's a big part of it, but a lot of it probably has to do with Kevin O'Connell. In terms of the quarterback side of things. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my reaction to those two games. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about Thursday Night Football. Actually, let's talk about NFL MVP first. Then let's get some Thursday Night Football in. Okay. Let's pull up Vegas here. So, Vegas betting odds, NFL MVP. Let's see what we got. Let's see. Okay, so Josh Allen is currently the favorite at they just give you like everybody's. He's about minus 900, minus 1,000. Then you got Lamar, then you got Saquon, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. Okay. So your favorite is Josh Allen. The main debate is Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, and then maybe a little bit of Saquon Barkley. So let's pull up Josh Allen 2024 stats. And then we got Lamar Jackson 2024 stats. Let's see here. What we got so far. So the always what's difficult about giving a running quarterback the NFL MVP is measuring him against other running quarterbacks, because it's really complex, because it's hard to say, okay, what's more valuable? 20 rushing touchdown or 20 passing touchdowns and 12 rushing touchdowns, or 40 or 35 passing touchdowns, right? Like it's hard to gauge because they're accounting for so much. But okay, in terms of passing, let's see. I'm on Pro Football Reference here. Okay, so Josh Allen, have they both played 14 games? Okay, you never know with Lamar. Okay, Josh Allen has an 11-3 record. Is that what it is? Yeah, 11-3. 64% completion percentage. 3,400 yards, 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Okay? Lamar's got a 9-5 record. He's got 3,500 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Okay. Edge to Lamar. Josh Allen does have a better record, so that is a little bit of it. Let's see here. Is there rushing? Okay, rushing and receiving. Let's pull this up. I don't think maybe Lamar isn't running as much, but let's see. Okay, so Josh Allen has got, he's got 484 yards and 11 rushing touchdowns. Is this wow? He had 15 last season. Holy cow! Then you got Lamar with 743 yards and 3 touchdowns. Holy cow! This is a close race. I need to write this out. I'm gonna make a doc here and just fully break this down. Hold up here. Hold up. Okay. Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen. Okay. I'm going to get some bullet points in this thing. Okay. Record. Pass. Rush. And we're going to do the same for Josh Allen here. Okay, so record. Again, we're just going to go over this one more time. So record, Josh Allen is 11-3. Lamar Jackson's 9-5. So edge to Josh Allen here. Passing, Lamar Jackson, we've got 3,400 yards. Let's see here. No, that's advanced passing. Okay, 3,500 yards, 34 and 3. What's okay? 68%. 68%. 3,500 yards, 34 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's crazy. That stat line is crazy. Holy cow. And then Josh Allen, we got 64% completion. Then we got, let me see here, 64. And then we got 3,400 yards, 25 and 5. 3,400 yards, 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Okay. And then rushing, Josh Allen, what do we got on rushing here again? Let's pull it up. He's got how many yards per carry? That's what I want to know. Attempts. Okay, so he's got 5.3 yards per carry. This might actually kind of matter. So 5.3 yards per carry. He's got 484 yards and 11 touchdowns. 11 touchdowns. Okay, so Lamar here. This might end up being really close. Okay, so yards per attempt, 6.4 yards per carry. Holy cow. 6.4 yards per carry. He's got 743 yards and 3 touchdowns. Holy cow. Holy cow. So total yards, pulling on my calculator here, great production value here. So 3,500 plus 743, 4,243 yards, and responsible for 37 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Okay, and then we've got total $3,400 plus 483. That's or 484. That's 3,884 yards, and he's responsible for 36 touchdowns. Holy cow, this is close. And 3 interceptions. Holy cow. Okay. Okay. So Lamar's got a better completion percentage and yards per carry. So in totality, Lamar's got 4,243 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Josh Allen has 3,884 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So Lamar's got about 500 yards, little less than about 450 yards, and a touchdown on him. But Josh Allen has 2 games on him. So really what this comes down to is what's more important, yards or wins. So Josh Allen might have the upper hand here. He honestly might. And right now, I would say let's see how the stats match up. We'll talk about this again as of end of week 14. I would say Josh Allen has a little bit of the upper hand right now. What does Saquon have with stats right now? I'm just going to throw him into the conversation. He's probably not going to win. I think the main way he does it is if he gets 2,000 yards. And even then, I think... What's Eric Dickerson's record again? Eric Dickerson's rushing record in a season. It's an insane 2,105 yards. AP was so close that one year. Okay, so basically 2,105. Is this just rushing yards? Let's see here. Just rushing. Yeah. So 2,105 minus 1,688. 417 yards. He's got 3 games to go 417 yards divided by 3. That's 139 yards a game. That's a possibility. It is a possibility. So we'll see. But I think what he'd have to do is he'd have to win that rushing title to win the MVP. I think that, and then maybe they'd have to have the 1 seed. He might not even win it with just that. So I don't know, but we'll see. So right now, I think Josh Allen has the upper hand on Lamar Jackson. Saquon, I think he'd have to get the rushing record and the 1 seed to win it. I think that's what they'd have to do. But lastly, we'll just break down this Thursday night football upcoming game. Who do we got here? It's Chargers and Broncos, which is going to be a good game. This is going to be a good wild card playoff team AFC championship game. But let's break it down. If you watch this show, you'll know that we typically go on PFF.com. They have this great lineup feature on their PFF Plus subscription. It just gives you a visual of their lineup. So we're going to start with Chargers offense versus the Broncos defense. So we're going to hop on Chargers here. Chargers offense, Broncos defense. Let's see here. Broncos defense. Okay, so Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are playing well. Zion Johnson's playing pretty well too. The other interior offensive linemen seem to be struggling. The Broncos defensive line is legit. This is where the battle is going to be in the trenches. I think, where are we ranking here? Pulling up Pro Football Reference again. Give me 1 second. Pro Football Reference. I'm going to pull up the rankings of some of these teams here for defensively. Their defensive rankings. Let's see. Denver Broncos. Okay, so the Broncos have been... So they've been the best defense in points allowed, 8th in yards allowed. They are definitely better against the run than they are against the pass. Okay, so we know that's what the Chargers want to do. It's going to be a battle of the trenches. You know, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, that's really not... I mean, they're not the best. I mean, Ladd McConkey's playing really, really well, but definitely not the best. Pat Surtain's going to shut people down for sure. So I would give the edge to the Broncos defense here. So really where the battle is going to be is Broncos offense, Chargers defense. And I think the problem with that is it's going to just come down to turnovers. You know, how many turnovers can the other team create? That's really what this game's going to be about. Here, let me pull it up here. Okay, so let me pull up some of the Chargers defensive rankings here. Also tied for one. And wait, was I looking at the wrong one? Oh, no, they're tied for first in points allowed. Right? 10th in passing yards. And 19th in rushing yards. So, wow, they're allowing more rushing. We know the Broncos aren't the best running team. They're definitely more of a passing team, even though their offense overall isn't great. But really, you're going to have to deal with Khalil Mack, who's still playing pretty well. I mean, Joey Bosa kind of. I think he's like one of the most overrated players in the league. He really is. At this point, and the way he's getting paid, I know I put out a poll on X the other week, and just like, hey, Chargers fans, do you still want Joey Bosa on your team, or do you want to pay him $20 million in 2025, something like that? And then most of them said no. A good majority said no. So it's definitely interesting. Um, but yeah, we might have to give the edge to. Let me see here. Okay, so wow, dude, this is close. This one's like a toss-up. This one really is a toss-up. So I would say it's literally 50-50. Broncos offense, Chargers defense. I would say the Broncos defense has an edge on the Chargers offense, but let's see how we rank in turnovers. So the Chargers defense is 11th in turnovers, and the Broncos defense is 6th. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go Broncos in this game. I really do. Holy cow! I honestly didn't expect them. I think, yeah, I might have to go Broncos in this game. Holy cow. Yeah, shout out to the Broncos. They're finding a way. I don't like Sean Payton. Didn't really believe in Bo Nix, not going to lie. But, hey, how is Bo Nix doing stats-wise? I know that doesn't always tell the complete story, but it's definitely a start. Let me see. Okay, so for this season, he's got almost 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Definitely more of a rookie season. Not terrible, but definitely more of a rookie season for sure. Let's see if PFF grade means anything to you. I'll share it with you. If I can find the Broncos again. Let's pull it up here. PFF grade. What? I wonder how much does. Let me see here. I want to put out a poll. Hey, NFL fans. Do at PFF grades mean anything to you? Because I can't decide if they do or not for me. I'm going to put a somewhat in there. Because I feel like you can't really be yes or no. I'm kind of in the somewhat category, but I feel like anytime I rely on PFF grades, it's mainly because I don't know enough about a player. You know? Like, I haven't actually watched the film. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just for fans who don't watch as much, and they're like, oh, well, this is their grade. This is their overall grade. And maybe that's not always the right way to go about it. But has a 73.2 grade. That's 24th in the league. That's definitely not bad for a rookie quarterback. You'll take it. Yeah, Sean Payton's got his team playing well, man. It's a lot of it has to do with their defense, but who do they have left? What are the odds that they make the playoffs? Because this playoff picture is a lot of this division, the AFC West. Yeah, the AFC West. Denver Broncos schedule. Let's see what they have left. Okay, so they have the Chargers, they have the Bengals, and the Chiefs. Okay. Those are all difficult games. They're not easy games. Because I think the Bengals are still technically in this thing. I think they still technically are. I think they need a lot of help, but I think they are. Let's see here. Come on, load for me. Let's see if I have any responses yet on my poll. I really like doing the polls because I get a sense and of, like I said, just of how people are feeling overall. Okay, no one has voted on the poll yet. That's cool. All right. So yeah, Chiefs for sure are winning this division. From there, it's Broncos and Chargers are kind of at the tail end, 9-5, 8-6, and then you got Colts, Dolphins, Bengals in the hunt. Really low percentages of making the playoffs here. Yeah. Okay, so now a lot of it is just a matter of who is going to get the 6th and 7th seed. But let's see here, too. Ravens remaining schedule. Let's see who they have left. Steelers, Texans, Browns. Wow. That's not easy. Maybe the Browns a little bit, but you never know with the Browns. They'd maybe want to play spoiler, but yeah, Steelers and Texans definitely are not easy games. So these are some pretty important games for these teams trying to get as high as they can. I'm telling you right now, if the Ravens are like the 7th seed and Josh Allen's stats are similar, there's no way that Lamar Jackson's winning the MVP. There's no way. He's having a great season, but he just happens to be playing in the same season as Josh Allen, which is pretty much the exact same stats, but he's just not winning as much. So you have to take that into account. But yeah, I think I'm going to pick Broncos here. I think the Broncos offense, Chargers defense, kind of a coin toss. Chargers offense, Broncos defense. Broncos defense has a little bit of an upside on them. Actually, probably a little more than a little bit of upside. But we will see here. I think just moving forward. So tomorrow we got Random Thursday. We're just going to talk just about anything in the news, anything that's going on. The drones I'm super excited about to talk about because I think with all the border crossings we've had recently, I think it makes sense why there's drones flying around because I think the intelligence agencies or the military, they know there's some kind of bomb in the United States and they're trying to find it. That would be my guess. I don't think it's aliens or UFOs. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's bombs. And they're trying to find it, and they're trying to do it at night to not panic the public, which they already are because they've been spotted. But I think they are looking for some sort of bomb. And God willing, that does not happen. I pray that it does not happen. Lord, please do not let things like that happen. Obviously, we live in a broken world. Things like that are going to happen, unfortunately. But I think that's, I don't know. I think it's going to happen. So we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow on tomorrow's show. I'll be recording it today, but we'll talk about other things in the news too. Also something I want to mention, TWYC Stevenson, if you're ever listening, skull. Did you like how he was doing the skull chant? And after the interception, after they're like losing, the dude's self-awareness level is like negative 30. This man has literally no self-awareness. And isn't he the one who cussed out Matt Eberflus? This dude is absolutely crazy. I can't. Let me see here. Let me see some of the notes I had on TWYC Stevenson, if I had any. What year was he drafted? Because I definitely scouted him. Stevenson draft. TWYC Stevenson draft. 2023. Okay. 2023. Nope. 2023 draft eval. I can't believe they had the Vikings taking Hendon Hooker in the first round. That's crazy. And so many mock drafts. That's just crazy to me. Let me see here. I definitely scouted him. Come on now. TWYC Stevenson. Where are you at? Okay, here we go. He was 23 years old, coming out of Miami. I had an early 4th round grade on him. Maybe that wasn't as good, because what did he go in the 2nd? Yeah, he went in the 2nd round, and he's been playing solid from as far as I know, except the stupid stuff. Big for a modern corner, I said. Plays a lot of man, aggressive guy, willing tackler, good acceleration. Don't really trust his hips and agility. Sort of reminds me of shorter Caleb Evans. Very emotional player. I even said it then. Have yet to see a lot of ball skills. He gets cooked on double routes and sometimes post moves. Hey, man, that wasn't bad. Yeah, that's not bad. That's kind of around where I thought. But yeah, cool. Awesome. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry. Thank anyone who's listening other than TWYC Stevenson if you are. Don't forget, Jesus died for your sins. He loves you. He brings you eternal life. Don't forget that. And ultimately, that's what this podcast is about. Spreading the word as much as I can using the gifts God has given me. But thank you to anyone who's listening. You all have a great day. Take care.